Bakit ko iimbentohin ang katotohanan ito? Nanghihingi pa ng death certificate. Meron ako, Mr. President, bibigyan kita. Bibigyan ko sila ng kopya. Baka akala nila hindi ko papatulan. Maliwanag, Ginoong Pangulo, nagko-contraceptives na buntis. Yun ang issue. Kahit nabuhay pa, kahit na umabot, sabihin mo ng 20 taon, 30 taon, o isang buwan lang nabuhay, ang issue, nagko-contraceptives na buntis. Yun ang maliwanag. Meron naman din po ng mga pag-aaral na makakapagpatunay na mayroong masamang epekto ang contraceptive sa kalusugan ng mga bata na ipinanganak ng mga ina na gumagamit ng contraceptives. Ito po ay pinatototohanan ng mga pag-aaral at hindi ko po iniimbento ito. In the book entitled The Greatest Experiment Ever Performed on Women, Exploding the Estrogen Myth, po yung title ng libro, by Barbara Seaman, it was stated that those who take pills but still get pregnant have more abnormal children and lower IQ. Ay, hindi naman po siguro kailangan maging doktor pa ako para maintindihan ko. Para maintindihan ng tao, malaman na ano maaaring maging komplikasyon ng paggamit ng pills. Ngunit nagbuntis pa rin, di po ba? Now, Mr. President, in a cohort of 50,282 pregnancies, 19 children with cardiovascular defects were born to 1,042 women who received female hormones during their pregnancy. 18.2 per 1,000. Among 49,240 children not exposed in utero to these agents, there were 385 with cardiovascular malformations, 7.8 per 1,000. 6 children with cardiovascular defects were born to a subgroup of 278 women who used oral contraceptives during early pregnancy, 21.5 per 1,000. After the data were controlled for a wide variety of potentially confounding factors by multivariate methods, the association between utero exposure to female hormones and cardiovascular birth defects was statistically significant. Hindi po galing sa akin to. Ang source po nito, title, Cardiovascular Birth Defects and Antenatal Exposure to Female Sex Hormones by Oli P. Heinonen, MD, MSc, Dennis Sloan, MD, Richard R. Monson, MD, Ernest D. Hook, MD, and Samuel Shapiro, MB, FRCD. So doon po sa unang bahagi ng aking turno in kontra sa aking palagay, naipaliwanag ko ang mga sumusunod. Una, that contraceptives are abortifacients. 2, that contraceptives pose health risks to women and may even expose them to serious health problems and death. And 3, that contraceptives have harmful effects to children born to mothers who were using contraceptives and still got pregnant. Doon po sa mga bumabatikos at nanggagalaiti sa akin, sagutin niyo yung mga yun, punto por punto, at hindi atakihin ang persona ko. Sa Facebook, sa Twitter, kung ano-ano sinasabi. Hindi naman nila naintindihan yung punto ko. May mga nananakot pa. Mr. President, sa mga drug lords, hindi ako natakot sa kanila pa. Ang lambot nga ng dating nung umpisa nung turno in kontra ko eh. Tapos gagalitin nila ako. Ginoong Pangulo, gusto kong bigyan din na hindi ko tinututulan ang paggamit nila ng contraceptives dito sa Pilipinas. At lalong hindi ko pinagbabawal ang paggamit nito. Hindi ko intensyon na panghimasukan ang personal na bahagi ng buhay pamilya ng bawat Pilipino. Ang sa akin lamang, bilang mambabatas at pinagkakatiwalaan ng nakararami, obligasyon ko na suriin, busisiin at pag-aralang mabuti ang pangkalahatang implikasyon ng bill na ito sa lahat ng mamamayan ngayon at sa susunod na henerasyon. Inihain ko po noong Lunes ang mga mahahalagang puntong dapat isalaang-alang natin bago natin ipasa ang batas na ito. Partikular, ang nakapangangambang epekto nito sa kalusugan ng ating mga kababaihan at maging sa kanilang mga anak, tulad ng aking masaklap na karanasan. Mr. President, given all these repercussions, would we still want to take the risk and brush aside all the probable detrimental effects of these family planning supplies and devices by passing without scrutiny the RH bill? Ako po ay nagmamalasakit sa lahat na nagtitiwala sa akin, kaya naman ako, ang akin po ay binubusisi ko ang bawat aspeto ng bill na ito. Sana po ay maintindihan nyo na ginagampanan ko lamang ang aking tungkulin sa bayan. Today, with your indulgence, allow me to proceed with my other parts of the turno and contra. As I mentioned last Monday, I mentioned that I will show how the RH bill violates Philippine sovereignty. My point in stating this is that we should not be pushed over by any state or international organizations in determining what is best for our country. Hindi po porque ginagawa na nila sa kanilang bansa ay dapat gawin din natin. Tandaan natin na may iba't iba tayong mga kultura, kasaysayan at tradisyon. At higit sa lahat, pangangailangan. Sino sila para magdikta sa atin? Hindi tayo gaya nila na iba ang pagpapahalaga sa pagbuklod-buklod ng pamilyang Pilipino at pagpapahalaga sa buhay ng tao. Iba ugali doon sa ibang bansa eh. And so, Mr. President, I will prove that this bill has been significantly influenced by various organizations, both local and international, which are of doubtful character. They have been pushing for the passage of this bill to serve their ulterior motives, far off from the aims of the proponents of the bill. Eh kung si Senadora Pia Cayetano at si Miriam lang ang pinag-uusapan natin, I am very sure of their noble intentions. Kaso, napasukan tayo, Mr. President. Hindi ganun kadali ang usapin eh. To prove it, ito. The sponsors of the measure in the House of Representatives also, in here, openly admitted that the statistics used in the bill were obtained from various sources. Regrettably, the credibility and trustworthiness of these sources are questionable. And who are these sources? Reliable po ba itong mga sources na ito? May pinapaboran ba ang source dahil makikinabang sila sa kalaunan? Dapat nating itanong ito sa mga tao at organisasyon na aktibong nagtutulak ng pagpasa nito. Tandayan natin mula noong 1997 po, Mr. President, ilang kongreso na po ang nakalipas, panay na panay ang sulpot ng RH Bill, iba-iba lang po ang title. At parati itong hindi na ipapasa. Hindi ba dapat nating masinsinan at masinsinan natin suriin kung talaga bang kailangan natin ito? At ano ang motibo ng organisasyong nagtutulak nito? Halimbawa na lamang, nabanggit noon ni Senadora Pia Cayetano ang ilang statistical materials na isinagawa daw ng National Statistical Office. Kasama dito ang Philippine 2008 National Demographic and Health Survey. Nakarating po sa committee niya yung mga impormasyon na yan. Kaya naman ho inilahad niya rito sa atin. Ang problema, Mr. President, ang nagpondo sa paggawa ng mga statistical data na ito ay ang United States Agency for International Development o yung USAID. Malamang na ang resulta ng kanilang pinondohang materials ay papabor sa kagustuhan ng nagbigay ng pondo. The USAID, for the information of the body, is the agency which the United States uses as its principal instrument to control and reduce the population through birth control worldwide. It is also the same agency which funded the DKT's project, Ramendra Kumar Tyagi, or DKT. That is the largest manufacturer of trust condoms, pills, and other contraceptives. Nais ng DKT na lumaganap ang paggamit ng contraceptive products sa Pilipinas. Magaling naman po tayo sa simpleng logic, di ba ba? Ulitin natin, USAID ang nagpopondo sa NSO para lumabas ang impormasyong kailangan ng population control sa bansa. At USAID din ang tumutulong sa DKT na mapalaganap ang produkto nila. Magaling, ano? Gagawa ka ng demand for contraceptives, tapos ikaw ang magsusupply ng solusyon. Magandang ideya para sa marketing, Mr. President, pero hindi sa paggawa ng batas. Sana huwag natin gawing pain ang ating bansa sa ganitong pag-i-eksperimento. Also, the sponsor used the statistical materials provided by the Alan Guttmacher Institute to support their position. But as correctly pointed out by Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile, the Guttmacher Institute came into existence as the marketing arm of Planned Parenthood in 1968 and has masterminded the manipulation of reproduction in the United States, promoting abortion, sterilization, and amniocentesis and genetic screening, as well as foreign population control. The Institute is predisposed to a particular line of attitude in relation to population and birth, and that is to control population and not to deal with health concerns. Ang concern ko lamang po sana, mapagkakatiwalaan sana yung mga data na ginagamit natin sa bill na ito because of the delicate nature of the measure and its eventual impact on the future and the well-being of the country and the people. We should be assured that the statistics presented to support the bill are beyond doubt. These statistics should be gathered, compiled, analyzed, and synthesized by persons or institutions with no personal biases or motives in the bill. We cannot simply rely on these questionable institutions to provide the statistics for us, since this statistical data would help us make intelligible and accurate judgment on the issue at hand. Sa totoo lang po, yung po mga figures na sinasabit dito sa plenary tungkol sa number of unintended pregnancies, induced abortions, hospitalizations due to complications of abortion, mistimed births, or unwanted babies, or maternal deaths, ay mahirap din pong tanggapin eh. Kasi they appear to be more of estimates or extrapolations of figures and not mathematically exact. I have been severely criticized, Mr. President. Katakot-takot po ang criticism sa akin when I question the truthfulness of the claim that 11 mothers die every day. Ngunit bakit naman po hindi ko questionin yung figure na ito? Kung alam ko na hindi ito tama. Kung sa figures pa lang, sumasablay na po sila, what more sa contents na mismo ng bill, di po ba? Sabi po ng proponents of the bill, at madalas po ginagamit sa House of Representatives ito, saying that 11 Filipino women die every day. When they talked about maternal mortality, they have not, however, supported this claim with accurate, consistent, empirical data. Kung tutuusin, ito pong ginawa ko. Kasi nanghihingi po ako, yung ibang nagtutulak po ng RH Bill, sinasabi pa sa mga interview nila, sabihin nyo kay Senator Soto doon, humingi siya sa NSO. Humingi ako sa NSO wala may bigay sa akin Nagpaikot ako ngayon. Kung tutuusin po, sa pinagawa ko sa mga staff ko, ito po, mayroon mga records kami galing sa mga ospital. Hindi pa nga umabot man lang sa kalahati ng 11 maternal deaths ang nakalap nila sa mga hospital sa Pilipinas noong 2011. For example, Mr. President, sa Nueva Vizcaya Provincial Hospital, ang maternal deaths na naitala nila sa 2011, 2. Let me emphasize, this is for the entire year of 2011, 2 lang. Hindi po ito kada araw. Sa Pangasinan Provincial Hospital, 4 lang ang naitalang namatay sa panganak sa nakaraang taon tungkol sa panganak. Sa Batangas Regional Hospital, 7 out of 2,584 deliveries ang naitala, 0.27%. Hindi pa nga umabot sa 1%. Sa Cavite Naval Hospital, wala silang naitala na namatay noong 2011 sa panganganak. Kaya ang hirap pong paniwalaan yung figure na 11 mothers die every day. Saan kaya talaga galing itong figure nito, Mr. President, na naibinigay sa mga committees natin? Meron po tayong opisyal dito ng Senate Secretariat, bumiyahe sa Uganda just last year. Nagulat siya, nakita niya, may mga promo tungkol sa reproductive health sa Uganda. Alam niyo nakalagay? 11 mothers die every day in Uganda. Parang template Kahit saan nila gamitin yung ginagamit nila. Nagtataka lang talaga kung paano nila nakuha yung figure na ito Kung ang National Statistics Coordinating Board na walang maibigay, ang Philippine Association of Hospitals ni-refer lang kami sa Department of Health. Saan naman kaya kinuha ng Department of Health yung mga figures na ito? Diyan na ngayon papasok yung mga organisasyon na ipipresenta ang mga gawa-gawang figures. Para ano? Para malihis ang mga mambabatas at masunod ang mga gusto nilang mangyari sa bill na ito. Ulitin ko lamang po hindi po sa wala akong pakialam sa mga nanay na namamatay. Dapat nga walang namamatay ni isa. Kung ano dapat na gawin, mas mabuti. Pero wag natin, ang punto ko, ayokong gamitin nila ang maling figures at statistics na ito para lamang hikayatin ang mga nakararami para ipasa ang RH Bill. Huwag ganon. Maling conclusion po ang kahihinatnan natin dito sa mga maling figures. Gaya po ng nasabi ko nung Lunes. Malamang, nakakatakot po, sana naman wag. Pag napasa yung RH Bill, baka mas maraming kababaihan ang nasubo sa kamatayan dahil sa contraceptives. Ayaw po natin mangyari yun. I think it was Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's hated propagandist, who said that a lie repeated several times would eventually be accepted as fact by the people. This is exactly what is happening now, since several documents have pointed out that the so-called 11 maternal deaths a day in the Philippines is a canard, and yet RH proponents continue to hoist it as gospel truth. So I challenge the RH supporters to give me the names and faces of the 11 mothers who died in one particular day if I am to believe their claim. O ngayon po, sige. Pagpalagay po natin na tama yung statistics. Doon tayo sa kabilang side. Na binibigay nito mga foreign institutions na nakapasok sa Kongreso at saka sa Senado. Pero sa mga datos nila mismo, hindi pa rin 11 maternal deaths ang lumalabas. Here are the facts, Mr. President. Galing po sa kanila ito. The September 2010 report of the WHO, World Health Organization, na kung saan consultant po si Dr. Capral. United Nations International Children's Education Fund, UNICEF, and the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, and the World Bank estimated annual maternal deaths in the Philippines at 2,100 in 2008. 4 years ago, sabi nila. That is equivalent to 5.75 deaths a day, which is way off the 11 per day. This was clearly down from the 2000 level of 4,100 or 11.2 a day down, which was published in a report 7 years ago by the same international agencies. It should be noted, Mr. President, that the proponents' population projections and maternal mortality ratios, MMRs, or deaths per 100,000 live births, came from a census conducted 11 years ago. The UN Population Division's estimates were released just recently and therefore should be more reliable. Now, for the sake of argument, Mr. President, pro-RH figures themselves result is 5.75 maternal deaths a day at hindi 11 deaths tulad na pinagpipilitan. Gusto ko lamang po i-correct yung figures na nanggagaling dito sa United Nations nila at sa grupo na yon. Ngunit, ito na mabigat, Mr. President. Sabi ko nga, ulitin ko lang, dapat ni isa wala na namamatay. Bakit po ako po hindi masyadong makapaniwala agad pag galing po dito sa grupo na ito? Noong 2009, Mr. President, ako pa yung Dangerous Drugs Board Chairman. Nagkaroon po ng convention sa Vienna, Austria, ang United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. Ako po nag-represent sa Pilipinas. Nahalal pa nga akong presidente or group head of delegation ng Asian contingent. Talagang gusto ko po umaten sapagkat nung nabasa ko yung United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime World Report, sabi, the Philippines has 6.7 million drug dependents. Sa 90 million Pilipinos doon, 6.7 million drug dependents. Ang ibig sabihin po nun, dito sa loob ng hall na ito, o sa Senado lang mismo, sa 23, mga 4 o 5, kung gano'n ang projection ng United Nations, drug dependent. Nakita niyo yung 6.7 million. Nagtatakbo ako, Dangerous Drugs Center, hindi ko maintindihan kung saan nila kinuha yung figures na yun. And then, in that same world report ng United Nations na grupo, they place China with a number na ang drug dependent daw sa China, Mr. President, 1 million. Sa China, na bilyones ang tao na pinagmula ng opium, 1 million lang daw ang drug dependents. Sa Pilipinas daw, 6.7 million. Yan ang world report ng United Nations na grupo. Nung umattend po ako, kinestyon ko po yan. I attended the plenary, nung nagsasalita na po ako doon sa roundtable discussion, hinila po ako at kinausap ako ng mga leaders ng official ng United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime at dinala po ako doon sa committee room meeting lang nila. Sinama ko po, ayan buhay, tanongin nyo, kasama ko si General Santiago at saka si General Calvante. Tumuloy po kami doon, kinausap namin sila. Sabi ko, where did you get the 6.7 million drug dependents in the Philippines? While in China, it's 1 million. Alam niyo kung ano explanation sa akin, Mr. President? Yung daw 1 million kasi sa China, kasi raw yun daw ang mga drug dependent sa mga rehabilitation center. Yun lang daw. Kung bulong nga sa akin ng mga iba roon, pinipr kasi ng United Nations ang China, kaya ayaw nila i-offend. Ang Pilipinas, ewan ko ano gusto nilang gawin sa atin. Pinalalabas nila, 6.7 million ang drug dependent sa Pilipinas. Hindi po totoo. So, kinwestiyon ko po yun. Ginawa ko, pagbalik namin, nagpakunta kami ng household survey using the Philippine Normal University Institute and the DILG. Ano lumabas? 1.7 million drug dependents in the Philippines in 2009. Yun po ang tunay. Kasi kung susundin natin ang formula nila sa China, na 1 million lang ang drug dependents dahil yun lang ang nasa mga rehab center. Hindi, ang ibig sabihin ng drug dependent sa Pilipinas, 56,000 lang. Kasi yun lang ang mga sa rehab center natin eh. Oh, ganun dapat. But nakikita niyo yung ulterior motive pag gusto nila magbigay ng mga statistics. Meron silang ibang gusto, Mr. President. The strong pressure and massive propaganda materials emanating from various groups cannot simply be put aside. They have been doing everything to impose their hidden agenda through the RH bill. The proponents of the bill admitted that they sought the assistance of various non-government organizations specifically to learn about the effects of certain procedures or nuances of terminologies used in the bill. This, in effect, gave these organizations the opportunity to incorporate their distorted beliefs and principles in the bill, Mr. President. Let me name these organizations. Let me start with the foreign organizations that surreptitiously impose their hidden agenda through this bill. Unahin na natin yung National Security Study Memorandum 200. By virtue of the National Security Study Memorandum 200 issued by Mr. Henry Kissinger, who is the source of the entire family planning, population, and poverty reduction programs of the United States. All loans, grants, and aid coming from the United States and Western powers must be based on reduction of population through birth control. Nakasulat po sa kanila, doon sa kanila galing yan. Since the USAID is the principal instrument for the so-called development programs, there are NGOs and government agencies in the Philippines that have been contacted, supported, and funded by it. USAID, World Health Organization, World Bank, and all economic agencies were given a directive to gear their policies and programs towards promoting the reduction of the world's population, especially in less developed countries. Kasama po ang Pilipinas sa listahan. Number 2, United Nations agencies are using UN resources to advocate their agenda on a local level in order to bypass cultural and religious resistance. Ito pong si Gamal Seror, President of the International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, FIGO, reported that the UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund, has a program in 25 countries to lobby religious leaders into dropping objections to the agenda. These programs are aimed at re-educating religious leaders and convincing them to accept their population control programs. UN Secretariat released a report from the UN Human Rights Council calling on all nations to accept that women and girls must be granted access to legal abortion in order for them to fully enjoy their human rights. The report, written by United Nations Special Rapporteur Alan Grover, links abortion on demand with the fundamental right to the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. According to Grover, quote, criminal laws penalizing and restricting induced abortion are the paradigmatic examples of impermissible barriers to the realization of women's right to health and must be eliminated. Ito pa, United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, he opened a women's conference with the announcement of a new document entitled Investing in Our Common Future, Joint Action Plan for Women's and Children's Health, intended to accelerate progress towards MDGs 4 and 5, Millennium Development Goals po. A draft of the Joint Action Plan circulated at the conference, at may nakakuha naman po sa atin, cited examples of actions to be taken by government and policy makers. The draft insists that states, quote, fully integrate the following into all primary healthcare facilities, family planning and abortion, abortion-related care among other health issues, end of quote. The draft Joint Action Plan also called on all states to increase government's portion of budget allocated to health and build on existing regional commitments to increase access to sexual and reproductive health services. Douglas Silva, PhD, taga New York po ito, reported on March 5, 2004 that former UN Secretary General Kofi Annan congratulated and encouraged the leadership and the work of the International Women's Health Coalition, a group working for worldwide abortion on demand for women and girls, where legal abortion is restricted to these abortions considered necessary to save the life of the mother. The IWHC recommends that abortion providers simply adopt a broader definition of what constitutes a threat to a woman's life by considering the risk of death if she seeks a clandestine procedure. Yun ang pangkumbinsin. He further states that the message of former Secretary General Kofi Annan implies that if skillfully argued, abortion advocates can skirt restrictive abortion laws. Kaya po ang dumi ng isip namin dito sa Section 3 letter I ng ating bill. Pangatlo, Mr. President, paborito ng Senate President ito, the International Planned Parenthood Federation, IPPF. According to its website, it has for more than 3 decades lobbied worldwide for the liberalization and eventual repeal of all laws that place any restrictions whatever on access to abortion. This stance is reflected in all of its major policy statements as described in IPPF's Vision 2000 strategic plan. In its Vision 2000 document, which is considered to be the marching orders nila, for all its members, repeatedly and unambiguously calls for the legalization of abortion in countries where the procedure is currently unlawful. Currently, the IPPF is operating in the Philippines through its member Family Planning Organizations of the Philippines, FPOP, which had actively participated during the committee hearings. This is IPPF's vision, Mr. President. Quote, we believe that a woman has the right to choose and access safe abortion services, and we advocate for changes in legislation to support this. End of quote. That is their true meaning of pro-choice. Sa totoo lang, meron pa pong mga ibang international organizations na nakapasok na po dito sa Pilipinas at nagbibigay at nagpapalaganap ng mga serbisyo at nagpapamahagi ng mga artificial contraceptives sa mga Pilipino. Ito ay para lubos na tanggapin pa nga ng mga Pilipino ang konsepto ng contraceptives na tulad din ng isinusulong ng IPPF. Isa na dito po yung Mary Stopes International Marie Stopes International na may sangay dito sa Pilipinas. Before I proceed to that and other organizations, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, please allow me to talk a little more about Margaret Sanger, who founded the IPPF. Siya po yung founder nitong International Planned Parenthood Federation. The three major thrusts of her work are reflected in today's IPPF's programs throughout the world. And these are 1. Free sex, 2. Eugenics, and 3. Birth control. Sanger, in her first pamphlet, listed the methods of birth control, among which she included abortion. She knew that once sex education and birth control were accepted, abortion would follow. Mr. President, mapapansin po natin na sa US at Canada, napalawig na po ang pagtanggap sa konsepto ng abortion sa pamamagitan ng pagtulak ng birth control. At ito din po ngayon ang kanilang strategy, para sa kalaunan ay matanggap na din po ng mga Pilipino ang konseptong ito. Sanger was so intent on reducing family size that she seemed not to stop even at abortion. Many believe that under the right circumstances, Sanger would have condoned infanticide. Bakit po? Bakit ko nasabi yan? Indeed, she wrote in her book, libro niya mismo, ang title ng libro, Woman and the New Race. Quote, "The most merciful thing that a large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it." End of quote. Yung po yung founder ng IPPF. Ito pa. She is, this comes from the woman who formed the philosophical base for the IPPF. Ito, Mr. President, there is even a darker side to Margaret Sanger. A side that IPPF people try to cover up or explain away. That was her belief in eugenics. Ano ba yung eugenics? Ito po ay defined as the application of the laws of hereditary to physical and mental improvement, especially of the human race. Yan ang definition niya. To Sanger, this meant the systematic elimination through birth control, including abortion, of all those people she and her cohorts considered as to be dysgenic stock, in order to create a race of superior intellectuals. Ito na rin po yung tinatawag na eugenics. Sabi nila, ganito po yun eh. If you are weak, useless, uneducated, and poor, you have no right to bear children. You have no right in this world. Yun ang utak nila. So pag mahirap ka, hindi ka pwede mag-anak. Yan po ang gusto niya. Sa madaling salita, ang gusto mangyari ng konsepto ng eugenics ay nagkaroon ng birth control para ang maititira na lamang sa mundo ay ang lahing superior at intelektual. Hindi kaya ito ang maaaring mangyari pag itinulak natin pilit yung aring spirit. Here again, we have the shades of Hitler's ambition to create a super Aryan race that prompted his sick mind to eliminate all Jews in Germany and neighboring countries. In an article Margaret Sanger wrote in 1922, she defended the U.S. immigration policy of not allowing the entry to the U.S. of the feeble-minded or diseased people by saying that this policy, quote, was reasonable and eugenic. Sanger also attempted to unduly influence Mahatma Gandhi to adhere to her distorted principles. Fortunately, Mr. President, Sanger's attempts to do so proved futile. Kasi po, the two activists met in December of 1936. Ayan po yung litrato nila. When Sanger traveled to India to speak with Gandhi about birth control, population, and the plight of women in India. Kinakabahan sila noon ng palaki at padami ng padami ang India. Population ng India. At that time, Sanger staunchly advocated the global use of artificial contraceptives, and in order to make the acceptance of such contraceptives easier to the Indian populace, sought to make Gandhi an ally. While Sanger claimed she merely wanted to pay her respects and give a personal tribute to Gandhi, she coveted nothing less than his endorsement of the widespread use of artificial birth control methods. Gandhi firmly stood by his belief in that the spiritual bonds of marriage are strengthened by sexual abstinence. He thus completely rejected Sanger's plea for contraception as a tool to control population growth, fearing it would lead to an increase in non-procreative sex, which he viewed as immoral lust. Despite the fact that the movement was gaining popularity in a society with a serious poverty crisis, ganun nung araw sa India nun, Gandhi was an outspoken critic of artificial birth control. His general attitude po dyan, sabi niya ganito, quote, "Persons who use contraceptives will never learn the value of self-restraint. They will not need it. Self-indulgence with contraceptives may prevent the coming of children, but will sap the vitality of both men and women, perhaps more of men than of women. It is unmanly to refuse battle with the devil." End of quote. Between a person who had been actively promoting free sex, eugenics, and birth control, and a person like Gandhi, who is an advocate of non-violence, discipline, chastity, control of the palate, sino po doon dapat natin paniwalaan? Kanino bang yapak ang dapat natin sundin? Kanino mga pangaral ang mas akma sa ating mga Pilipino na kinagisnan nating mga ugali, kaugalian at paniniwala? Klaro po, madali po masagot yung sagot na yun, yung tanong na yun. Now let me proceed to the other organizations backing up the bill. I will disclose the workings of local organizations that push the passage of the RH bill. Sa aking pagsisiyasat, pagsasaliksik at pagmamatsyag sa bawat galaw ng iba't ibang organisasyon na may kinalaman sa usaping ito, aking pong napag-alaman, Mr. President, na may mga lihim na hangarin ang iba sa mga naturang organisasyong ito na nagkukopli sa kanilang sinasabing intensyon na mapabuti ang kalusugan ng ating mga kababaihan. Aking natuklasan na may mga local organizations na ginagamit ang kanilang mga katuwang o nagagamit sila ng mga katuwang na foreign organizations upang unti-unting imulat ang kamalayan ng sambayanang Pilipino sa moderno at liberal na reproductive health schemes. Simula sa paggamit ng artificial contraceptives hanggang sa malaunang pagtanggap ng bansa sa konsepto ng abortion. This is the big picture. And the RH bill is an important detail to complete this picture. Una po, there are local organizations that were supposedly receiving funds from the international organizations, such as the Family Planning Organization of the Philippines, the FPOP, who claims to be a very proud member of the #1 international organization which happens to promote abortion worldwide. IPPF's recent financial statement reveals that FPOP received a subsidy amounting to $625,095. $625,000 po yun, or almost 27.5 million pesos in 2011. It thus appears that FPOP have already adopted IPPF's abortion advocacy FPOP's website displays the organization's support to the use of abortive facilities. In fact, the FPOP posted on its website an instructional brochure discussing different methods of abortion depending on the weeks of pregnancy. Furthermore, FPOP's website is linked to a website named Women on Waves, which provides contacts to abortion clinics worldwide. Kapalit ng malaking halagang ipinamamahagi ng IPPF sa mga miyembro nito ay ang pagsunod sa mga programang isinusulong ng IPPF tulad ng pagsasabatas ng abortion at pagpapalaganap ng artificial contraceptives. Pangalawa po, another organization receiving financial support from these international organizations is the Reproductive Health Advocacy Network, or RAN, R-H-A-N. Ito pong RAN, chinik namin sa Securities and Exchange Commission, sa SEC. Wala akong records. But we have discovered that this was confirmed during one of the interpellations of the measure, that the RAN submitted a budget proposal to the United Nations Population Fund containing a budget allocation for, quote, nurturing legislators to expedite the passage of the RH bill. Aside from the provision to nurture legislators, there are also monetary allocations for development, production, and dissemination of information segregated into target audiences for media and professionals and communities mobilization. Nakita niyan, may target pa sila eh. Media, professionals, communities mobilization. Doon daw gagamitin yung pera. Number 3, Likhaan, an affiliate of RAN, is also one of the local organizations actively pushing for the RH bill. It reportedly received funds from the UNFPD for the passage of the RH bill. Ang Likhaan naman po, sa SEC, revoke ang registration. Likhaan openly supports abortion as it features in its website step-by-step procedure on how to abort a baby. To make matters worse, the instructional material desperately intends to reach the Filipino masses by using Filipino language and putting pictures that clearly illustrate how to abort. Ayan, kitang-kita nyo. In addition, there is a video featuring Dr. Junis Melgar, head of the Likhaan, who was quoted as saying, quote, "If you are pro-women, you will have contacts to the services that are underground," end of quote, and whose other statements refer to abortion service providers. In an article entitled "Philippines, Pro-Abortion Groups Funding RH Bill Backers," it revealed the following grants granted to RH lobby groups. $90,000 to RAN, RAN for promotion from the UN Population Fund, or UNFPA 2011. $6.6 million to Planned Parenthood Armed Family Planning Organization of the Philippines, FPOP, from the UNFPA, United Nations Population Fund. $1.6 million to FPOP from IPPF for the years 2005, 2009, and 2010. $1.2 million to PSPI from Marie Stopes, 2009. $39,000 to Likhaan from Planned Parenthood, 2007. $88,000 to FPOP in 2009 from Marie Stopes for RH kits. And $75,000 to Catholics for Choice to promote RH from the Wallace Global Fund, 2009. Isa laki po ng mga budget ng mga organisasyon ito, may hindi po nakakapagtaka na hindi katakatakang napakasigla na kampanya nila para sa RH Bill. Sa radyo, telebisyon, pahayagan, lalo na po sa internet. May mga commercial pa eh. Pangapat, Mr. President, Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines, which actively participated in deliberations of the RH Bill, both in the House of Representatives and the Senate, excludes the unborn from their definition of children and claims that, quote, calling the unborn child is going beyond what the Constitution provides, end of quote. Sa SECPO, Security and Exchange Commission, itong Democratic Socialist Women of the Philippines, sabi ng SEC, it does not exist. This organization further claims that only children have human rights excepting the unborn. Kung hindi kinikilala ng organisasyon ito na may karapatan, pantao ang mga batang nasa sinapupunan pa lamang ng kanilang ina, may hindi malayo pong tinatanggap din nila ang ideya ng abortion, tulad ng pagtanggap ng mga foreign organizations na nagtusulong nito sa ating bansa. These foreign organizations underhandedly seek to legalize abortion in countries where it is still a crime. And that, I believe, is exactly what they're doing now in our country. Ini-smuggle dito sa RH Bill, Mr. President. This bill is foreign dictated policy, forcing us to adopt population control and abortion contrary to the values that we uphold. Sana wag tayo magbulag-bulaga sa katotohanan na ini-impluwensyahan tayo ng mga panyaga sa pamamagitan ng bill na ito. Gumagamit sila ng mga mapapanling lang na impormasyon upang sa ganoon ay tayo ay makumbinsi nila na tanggapin ang kanilang mga baluktot na paniniwala. They want us to believe that the use of contraceptives lowers the number of abortions. On the surface, this claim appears to be reasonable. It seems obvious that if one uses some type of birth control, wala nga naman when engaging in sexual intercourse nga naman, but one will be less likely to get pregnant than if one used no means of birth control. So the general public believes this claim and sees the distribution of contraceptives as part of the solution to the abortion problem. Yet, Mr. President, there are studies supported by facts transpiring in the last 50 years that cast a large cloud of doubt over this conclusion. In fact, Mr. President, in a study undertaken by Raymond Pearl, a Johns Hopkins professor and noted authority on this matter, he wrote, quote, "Those who practice contraception as part of their sex life, by their own admission, resort to criminally induced abortions about 3 times as often proportionately as do their comparable non-contraceptor contemporaries." Also in a report prepared for the Royal Commission on Population in Great Britain found that the incidence of induced abortion as a percentage of all pregnancies was 9 times higher for women using contraceptives than for women not using birth control. So, Mr. President, with the foregoing, I think I have adequately shown that most of the proponents of the bill have been misled by deceptive and misleading information to push for the bill's passage. They have 2 more parts to go, but I will try to abbreviate it into one more part, Mr. President, and that will include the issues on sex education and population control. Because of time constraints and because of the possibility that the committee report that is needed by the Senate is about to follow, I move to suspend consideration of Senate Bill 2865, Mr. President, for another day.
Objection? Hearing none.
Thank you. Mr. President, may I have a 1-minute suspension?
Session suspended.